You're listening to RTI Audio, powered by Rocky Top Insider. This is Pancakes and Bacon with VFL, Kyler Kerbyson, and Reed Bacon.
Hello, Vol Nation. Welcome to another episode of Pancakes and Bacon. I'm your host, as always, Kyler Kerbyson, joined with Reed Bacon. Very excited for this one. We are on a winning streak. We'll call it that. Vols beat UTSA in a big win, 45-14. So we're going to break that whole thing down, offense and defense, and then kind of look ahead to what's in store for us the rest of the season. But first, before we get into any of that, Reed, how we doing, bud?
Hi, Kyler. Just another beautiful Sunday here.
That's right.
Actually, it is beautiful outside.
Well, positive vibes only. Last Sunday was not so beautiful. This Sunday is beautiful.
Well, it's kind of backwards for me because even though we lost to Florida, I was pretty juiced that the Titans looked good and won. Today, they looked horrendous.
Boo-boo.
And Myles Garrett and Jim Schwartz and that defense just they ate up. I would have enjoyed watching the game if I had not been a Titans fan. But
and Deshaun Watson looked like an MVP.
I don't know about that. But he played fine. He played fine.
He played a lot better than anybody has been calling him out for. He only had like 4 incompletions.
Yeah, but a couple of the throws that he had, they weren't completions. They were PIs. Let me just say this. He played fine. I wasn't like jaw dropped. I mean, I guess maybe the most impressive thing he did was get out of a couple of sacks, but it didn't result into anything like massive.
Yeah, I mean, only scoring – 27? Really, like they struggled a little bit.
No,
like
the Titans are good defensively. I mean, I would be pissed if I was the Titans D line because they eat. I mean, they're absolutely and the secondary is playing really good, and then we got some unfortunate hands calls with some PIs. But anyways, I digress. So obviously, I'm not wearing. I don't know what I'm going to wear if the Vols and Titans lose one weekend. So maybe. Maybe just come on.
Catholic gear.
What?
You got to wear Knoxville Catholic gear.
yeah. Unless they take an L, then
those are one of the worst weekends. I remember like being at Tennessee and just having one of the worst weekends where Catholic loses, then we lose, then the Titans lose, and I'm just like, God, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like waking up Monday, you're just like, fuck, this sucks, dude.
Yeah. So, anyways. So I went to the game yesterday, and it was a gorgeous day. But Kyler, it was, and I'm not being dramatic, it was the worst crowd I've ever seen for tailgating. For tailgating. I mean, it was awful. I mean, I didn't think the stadium was going to have, based on what I saw for tailgating, I thought we might have 70,000 in there, and we didn't even get over there till 1:30. And I'm looking at Megan, and I'm like, this is not it. You know, she hasn't been to a game in years, maybe since she was in middle school or maybe early high school.
I think UTSA makes a little bit of a difference there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's UTSA. I think it's the fact that we lost to Florida. And I think also the fact that we have a couple other – big home games coming up that people were like, hey, if we're going to sell, this is the one we're going to sell, or this is the one we'll stay at home and watch on TV. But the crowd was fantastic.
Well, that's what I'm saying is it was sold out.
Yeah. No,
UTSA was still sold out. So I think a lot of people were just like, I'm going to go to the game, but I'm not going to go ahead and tailgate because it's UTSA. But if it was South Carolina this week, you would have seen some tailgating.
No, for sure. But I mean, it was that bad. Like it was awful. I mean, yeah, it was the worst crowd I've ever seen for tailgating. I feel like when I went, I might have been in college, and it was a noon kickoff with Butch in Western Kentucky, and I think it was about the same tailgating then. I mean, G10 was the emptiest I'd ever seen it. Vol Village was probably the NCS I've ever seen it. Circle Park still had a good crowd. But anyways, yeah, so the crowd inside the stadium was great. And like I said, it was a beautiful day. I loved the tickets that Megan and I had. I mean, they couldn't have been any better except we were on the sun side, which when I bought them, I knew that. But, I mean, we were section D, 28 rows, and the 45-yard line was cutting me right down the middle. And so in the 28-yard line or the 28 row is the very, very last row at the very bottom. So all I had to do to get up and I literally had to stand up, take a step over because we were in someone's season ticket holders because they had the back. I had to step over the back flap and then take about 3 steps and I was in the tunnel. Yeah. So it could not have been any better seating.
Yeah. Quick to the concessions, quick to the bathroom.
I'm going to tell you the best thing that they've done at Neyland. And I had someone told me they've been there for a couple of years now. I didn't know that, but they have massive, massive water jugs with free ice water and cups. And
really?
I've never seen it. I was like, this is great because I would always buy it. I would buy at least probably 2 waters, maybe 3 for myself. I think Alabama last year I had 3 waters just for myself, but this is you buy one and you can just refill it, or go hit cups. And so that was awesome. I pounded that thing. But anyways, I mean, like I said, it was great seats, but we did leave like midway through the second quarter just because the game was in hand. I saw what I wanted to see. I was ready to get home.
Yeah.
And just not having to sit there in the sun. But, yeah, I was happy with the crowd. So,
well, that's good. I mean, the fact that it was sold out for a UTSA game is a good sign.
Mm-hmm.
Good sign for the future and everything moving forward.
It was very eye-opening when I got there. So I'm very happy to see that, everyone wanted to be fashionably late and walk in right as the game started, which I'm fine with. So,
I get it. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah. And hopefully you and I, we're planning on going to the South Carolina game this week. So if we can get some of that logistics work out, then we'll be there together, which will be great. And I'll be honest, I'm super nervous. So what's your overview of this UTSA game?
Yeah. So let's talk about the game. I mean, overview, I saw things that I wanted to see. There's still things that make me nervous, right? That seem very fixable, that don't seem like they're really big issues. But, when you look at both sides of the ball, like offensively, everyone's paying attention to Joe. What is Joe doing? What's happening with Joe? And we really didn't see the bad of Joe, to use your analogy, the slice on a par 4 after he just parred 3 holes until we already had the game in hand. So it's kind of like, did that happen because it was a little lackadaisical out of everyone once we had it in hand? Or is that just Joe and he got all of his pars out of the way at the beginning? And then defensively, I thought when watching the Florida game that our defense was playing well. I thought there was a couple missed tackles that were very
Tyler,
being nervous, or at least I did, about the second linebacker, right? I trust Aaron Beasley with everything, but that second linebacker, whether it's Elijah Herring, Arian Carter, I still didn't see what I wanted to see. Elijah a little bit more, but Arian is playing exactly like a freshman plays. Like, as an offensive lineman, the way I viewed it, I'm like, this guy's the easiest guy in the world to block. I mean, I can get up to next level and block him 10 times out of 10. It wasn't playing with the confidence, right? He wasn't playing like what we saw out of him in his highlight tape.
Yeah, but that's understandable.
But that's understandable, right? He's a freshman, which it just kind of sucks. He was kind of thrown into this position. So it's definitely understandable. It doesn't mean he's not going to be a good player. But kind of what you said about the Titans, like, I feel bad for our defensive line. Like, our defensive line freaking eats. And, like, the job that Amari Thomas and Eason do when they're in is incredible. I mean, they control the guards. Like, they're the ones who set the tone with both guards on both sides. Like, they set the new line of scrimmage every single time, even if it is like maybe like a slightly over pursue and the back cuts back. It's just like as a defensive lineman, you got to trust your linebackers to pick that up. So they're doing exactly what they're supposed to. So sometimes I like feel bad for the D line when I'm like, they're laying Buddy out and then he still completes a pass, up on the sideline or still completes a pass across the middle. But I feel good. We did what we were supposed to do, right? UTSA is a better team than Austin Peay. And we came out better in this game than we did that game. So it makes me feel like it's in a better spot. Do I feel perfect? No. Do I feel like we're the best team in the SEC? No. Do I feel like is all of our problems gone? No. But, and this is a little foreshadowing to looking ahead, when I look at everyone else in the SEC and everything else that's going on all throughout college football, I feel kind of okay, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get it. I feel much better because I feel much better because we made the plays and we handled business like we were supposed to, but I don't feel better going into South Carolina, if that makes sense. So I guess that doesn't make sense. Let me try to explain it better. It's nice to see that we handled business against a lower level team, which we didn't do against Austin Peay. Basically, if we had looked like we did against Austin Peay and not really, kind of almost squirted out this win, then I'm just not going to South Carolina. Now I'm fine with going to South Carolina and playing my part of like being loud, being rowdy, because I do think the crowd is going to play a major, even more than normal. Yeah. I think it's going to play a major role in that game. But I don't feel really any better against South Carolina than I did after Florida. Truly, like I don't feel any better going in that game than after I did against Florida, because as I had that realization with Joe, he is who he is. So even if he had hit all of his open throws this week, I still know that there's a chance that in bigger games that he can miss. So I like I said, I guess I feel a little bit better, but ultimately not really. The one thing that I was happy about this week, Kyler, and then we can dive into it, is it was cool to see Heupel back, in my opinion, where I was sitting there watching film and I would smile and be like, "You dirty dog, you!" Like we saw multiple receivers running free, whether they were hit or not hit. Well, actually, when we had them running pretty free, they didn't get hit. The ones where they still had pretty good coverage and we scored on, or pretty good throws. Then he had, I'll get to those, but then he had a couple other little wrinkles of plays, and it was like, all right, Hype, you're back. And I like it. And it's just nice to see that they executed for him. But that's really the only overview I have of the game. I'm glad we handled business and did what we were supposed to do. I would have liked to seen the defense play slight bit better, but that's kind of who they are. And as we mentioned, we will win and lose games based on this offense, not the defense.
No, it's always going to be the offense.
And last year was opposite.
And I think the defense kind of let up after halftime, like they were just like,
and it happens.
And it was like, oh, here's a new quarterback in there, plays completely different than the other guy. And it kind of gives you a second to adjust. So, and
listen, bro, we've all been there when we're beating the dog crap out of somebody, and you just wish the game could go ahead and be over. But you got a whole second quarter left, or you got a whole fourth quarter left, or whatever the case may be, and you just have to find ways to motivate yourself. And
that's why they scored twice, and then they didn't score again. It was like defense was like, oh, okay, all right, chill out.
Right.
You guys aren't that good. We got this. Don't worry.
Right. And we'll get to the pick play. I would have been fine with them not calling a pick play, but I think the penalty should have been warranted because he did extend his hands a little bit.
And the fact that the ref threw it. I mean, he threw the flag. Have some fucking balls and call it. You threw the flag, dude.
All right, let's talk a little offense. So I don't think the game could have started any better.
No.
Because of it's Joe, and he house calls a long run. I would rather see Joe do exactly what he did on a read option, or if he had dropped back to pass it and broke off and ran, I would pick that over a long run by a running back, a long run from a receiver on a hitch or a screen or a deep shot. I have seen him hit deep shots. Yeah. Even if it's inconsistent, I've still seen them. I've seen guys break long, hitch routes or screen routes. I've seen these running backs break long ones. I haven't seen Joe do that. And so it was really nice to get the crowd rocking, to get his confidence going, to get the offensive going. So I don't personally think that it could have started any better for
everyone has been saying they want to see that out of Joe more.
And we saw
it. We saw it, right? And it's such a great play too, because it gives a little bit of confidence to Joe without him having to throw the ball.
Right.
Now he feels a little bit better. There's a little bit of a cushion, like all that pressure isn't on him anymore. And all right, we're comfortable, right? We're in a comfortable spot moving forward.
Right. I love the first down play call to McCall and Castle. You bring McChicken in motion, fake the handoff. And this is one of these things where I smiled, and I did not notice it when I was there. I noticed it only from coming back and watching it. It's a little wrinkle. I have not seen it. I'm not going to say another coach in all of America hasn't done it. I haven't noticed it. But that doesn't really mean anything, because I do watch a lot of football, but the only ones that I'm ever rewatching the film on is the Vols. So someone else could have done it. It's the first time I've seen it. But it's where you have, and if you're watching on YouTube, you have your slot and your outside receiver, and you're bringing McCollin across. And I don't even know if you noticed this, but you play action, you dump it to him. Well, instead of having Squirrel go up and try to pick the safety and Ramel go up to get his corner, they both down block. And it was so sick because it's an easier block for them. Yeah. And then you end up getting a 1v1 with McCall and Castle, where it's kind of heading into each other. So Squirrel doesn't go up to get the safety who's 15 yards away. He steps right in and basically just almost like a basketball screen to the linebacker. So it's like the linebacker sees what's happening, and he's going to try to open up and run, and Squirrel's there. And it's not a blindside block because they didn't throw their shoulders. They just stood there. And the Ramel blows off the ball like he's about to run a route or whatever, but he doesn't go up to his corner. He turns and gets the safety who was over Squirrel. Yeah. And I was like, dude, that is so sick, because I remember being a receiver and how hard it would be to get up there, break down, and then try to make a block on a defensive back. But now it's like setting a screen in basketball. It was genius. So
and it makes sense. Like when you really think about it,
it does.
Who's the easier guy to block? The two guys inside. Who's actually closer to the ball carrier? The two guys inside.
Right.
Who would you rather have Castles have a one-on-one versus a deep safety or a running linebacker?
Or a corner.
Deep safety or corner. Yeah.
But that's the thing is he took the linebacker and safety out. It was a corner.
Yeah, so a deep corner. So it's like in all sense of it, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Why doesn't it happen more often? I don't know, but that makes perfect sense.
Did you notice that by any chance?
I didn't notice it. I just saw the blocks that were like when he caught it, I was like, "Oh, Squirrel, you're in the perfect position to make your block." But I didn't really pay attention that it was they left the corner to block the other two more dangerous guys.
I never seen it. It was sick, and I don't know if it was Heupel that put it in or someone else on the staff, but it was dope. And I also like that too, because I want to get. I mean, McCall and Castle can show that he can make somebody miss in the open field. He's a big boy. He can run.
Athletic.
And it's also another easy throw for Joe. Then again, I love seeing the first down hitch. Joe's pretty good at throwing a hitch. He can get it out there pretty quick. Get Brew the ball.
If they give us space, if they're that backed off. Just keep doing it.
Take what the defense gives you. You don't have to take the moonshot every time.
Exactly.
And then I thought it was a nice run for Dylan because he ran. I mean, it was a good hole, and it didn't have to be that far of a run, but he did run through an arm tackle, which I like to see for a smaller guy.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'm guessing you're talking about like him finding the end zone.
Yeah.
I swear, dude, I think these running backs actually work with the offensive linemen in like individual meetings about finding the holes. Like I've never seen three guys have such good vision to find that open spot on inside runs like these guys are. Like it is very impressive. when I played, I remember it being like, well, there's a couple that will be able to find it. There's a couple that understand this, but sometimes guys are just like, don't understand what's happening with the block, right? Where am I attacking the defender as an offensive lineman? Where am I trying to put the defender as an offensive lineman on play? Like, if you don't necessarily understand it as a running back, you don't know where that hole is going to open. I feel like these guys have to spend more time with the offensive line to understand it, because they find it every time. They're finding the cutback lanes. It's not always front side. And when they're running power, when they're running counter, when they're running inside zone, it's not always front side. Sometimes it's back and it's wide open, and they find it. I've seen Jalen, Jabari, and Dylan all do it. So it's just very impressive. And to speak of Dylan needs more touches, and not because Jalen Wright is bad or Jabari is bad. It's because he's earned it. Dylan Sampson has earned more touches. When he gets the ball, he makes things happen. So I'm going to give you the ball more because what you have done on the field has shown me you deserve the ball more.
He made me a little nervous when I went back and watched. He had one that wasn't a full-blown pass protection miss. He still got a hand on it, and I didn't get to see it from the back angle to see if Joe could have stepped up in the pocket, but he bailed pretty quick. But I agree. I love Dylan. I think all of Vol Nation loves Dylan. Continuing with offense, it was. I'll say this, Kyler, the Jacob truck stick.
Oh baby,
it was kind of better in person, and TV didn't really do it justice. And it was across the field for me, but it was right down my line, and he did it. And I stood up. I said, "Let's go, Jacob. Get yourself."
He looked down at him too, like bitch.
Yeah, exactly. So
I absolutely loved it.
I thought another nice read option from Joe. Got 7 or 8 yards, got a first down. I was happy with it.
Fantastic. Guess what? That's available every freaking play. Joe, can we please try and do that more often? Like versus Austin P, when they started doing like the engage 8, sending 8 guys on second down. Pull it, Joe. Pull it out, stiff arm a dude, and get a couple yards. Then they might slow down on the edge.
Yeah. Then I thought it was a nice ball. To Keaton. I just thought it was really good coverage by the guy from UTSA.
I agree.
So hats off to him. Let's see here. So it was another one where I felt like Jabari gave us a spark plug with another long run, which was nice, and a super, super nice cut, because that wasn't your routine guy. The running back sees him in front of him. He has to kind of see him out of his peripheral and then hits that sidestep, which was awesome.
What did you think before we keep going? But what did you think about the quarterback draw?
I actually told him. If I'm not mistaken, it was 3rd down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I told Megan. I said, which she doesn't know, but I just said it out loud to say it out loud. But I said he's about to run it here, because I thought he was going to go for it on 4th down.
Yeah.
And then there was no back in the backfield, so I said, all right, well, we'll see. And then he did it. I used to love when he does the read options.
I thought the quarterback draw was a good play.
I said read option. I love the quarterback draws.
But I thought it was a good play, because in my head, I'm like, I have 5 offensive linemen and 5 defenders.
Yep.
Where's my numbers at? I have better numbers doing this than I do throwing out on the side.
I agree.
So I like it a lot. It was just didn't get through, right? I mean, Joe is a downhill runner. There's not a lot of shiftiness and cutting and all that kind of stuff. I need a good 5-6 yard head start like Derrick Henry to get him going.
That's true. Another one, Kyler. Another one where Josh Heupel. I haven't seen this until later in the game, and UTSA did it, so that's pretty funny. But where you have the 2 receivers, the inside guy kind of runs like he's going to do that wheel route, and you don't know if he's going to do a wheel route / slot shot or do the fake wheel turn back around. But he starts going out like he's going to block or wheel route or whatever, and Caleb Webb takes 1 step forward, another step back, shows his hands. Joe gets and it was sick. And I was like, that's nice, because I thought Joe was late on the throw, and I went back and watched it, and I said, that took some time. And shout out to the offensive line, because that takes a little time to develop. And even with a fast wide receiver and even on a short field, meaning we're kind of in the red zone, 20, 30 yards, but that takes a little time. So it was beautiful. I was happy to see
and
that.
I love the fact that it's not as simple as what you just described. It's the beginning of what you just said of, is it the wheel route? Is the wheel route what you're supposed to be trying to hit?
Right.
Is it going to be a wide receiver screen on the side? Is it supposed to be the slot shot? There's just so many options off of it. Is there a play action that goes with it? It's just, that is what makes Heupel's offense so dangerous, is just every option that you can have out there.
And the other thing that I thought about too that I liked it is, not only have we been building off that thing for 3 weeks now with all the bubble screens and smoke screens and quick screens we've thrown, but it's also good for Joe, because Joe basically gets to stare down his receiver and kind of watch all the way. You're not asking Joe to look over here and then come back over. He literally just gets to stand there, maybe do a little shoulder pump, and then hit it. So yeah. It was cool to see. Continuing on offense, I love the basic. It was a 3rd and 9, and this was back to the basics. It's just a freaking out route to Squirrel. Ramel Keaton's the outside receiver. Ramel Keaton just runs a go to keep his guy off. The safety's, 20 yards off the ball. Squirrel runs up, runs out, pitch and catch, 3rd and 9, easy. So I was happy to see that it was I was happy to see that we did it, that we executed it, and that we're taking advantage of things that the defense is giving us because of how scared they are for the deep shots. Then it was a great double move by Ramel. Yeah. Very nice pocket, a nice step up in the pocket by Joe, and a really nice ball.
I mean, so as we're sitting there at that moment, we have a nice ball that he threw to Ramel earlier that got batted away. Mm-hmm. We have a nice ball right there that he throws a touchdown with. We have a good ball that he threw to Webb on kind of a, fake, and then hit. And it's kind of like, okay, this is great. Keep it like this. Keep it simple. Get his confidence up with those outside throws, which is what I was loving in the beginning. It's like, all right, now he has 8 completions in a row. Fantastic. He feels better. He has an 80-yard touchdown run and 8 completions. He's more confident that he can hit those throws. But,
I'm not going to – you know what's wild, though, Kyler? Is I'm to the point now that I do think his confidence in anybody, that once you get your confidence and mojo going, it helps. But I don't think it's going to help him as much as we maybe hope it would or think it would, because he is who he is, and he could hit 7 in a row, and he's still going to maybe miss the 8th. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't know, but who knows? Continue on. Bad miss to Squirrel in the not the one where he was running right down the middle of the field in the 3rd quarter. It was a bad miss when they just did that kind of deep slant, skinny post, crosser route in the end zone.
I thought when Castles missed that throw from Joe across the middle.
No. This is later on. This is later on.
That was one where I'm just like, help your buddy out.
Let me see. No, this is the one where, I'm sorry to catch you up. This is where Dylan Sampson broke the long run, and we get down to the red zone. Well, then we run one of our patent just deep, like I said, deep
slant. And he overthrows him.
Yeah, and he overthrows Squirrel. And so it's like, okay, that's a bummer. Well, then the next play, you miss a touchdown. So the next play, Carrot gets swimmed so hard. It was brutal. And then Chaz Nimrod may have been open again on the slot / crosser, because it looked like they went to it again. And then you have to settle for a field goal, and it's and I have in my notes here, it's not like they played good D. We caused ourselves 4 points, meaning we ended up getting the 3, but we should have 4. And those are the ones that in a South Carolina, A&M, even Missouri, Kentucky, you gotta have those. You gotta have those.
It's super unfortunate, because it's like 3 plays in a row down there. It was one guy messing up. So first play is Joe with the overthrow. One dude. Everyone pass protection. Squirrel runs a great route. It's one guy. Next play, Ollie steps the wrong direction on a power, and the nose tackle is unblocked and gets into the backfield. That's one guy. Next play, we're in pass pro, and Carrick lunges at his dude and completely whiffs. And then Joe gets sacked and, like, you know, rolls up on his leg. It's one guy. That's what's, like, so difficult about offense sometimes. It doesn't matter if 10 guys do the right thing. If one guy messes up, you're screwed. But on defense, you have people behind you. You have people to protect. If you do mess up, like, it's not always just all on one dude. And it's tough to be like, hey, Ollie is a bad player. We should sub in a person because of one play. Same thing with Carrick. Same thing with Joe. But you did just lose 4 points.
This is a question for me personally. I'm not asking you this to have you answer it for the people listening, but I was just thinking about it. And I didn't watch film back then, but you did when you were there. I'm not going to say I don't remember because that's not fair. I don't remember, but I didn't watch a ton to know. I don't remember you ever getting just straight up beat like that. But then again, I don't really remember some of the guys you playing with your junior and senior year just getting straight swim whipped like that. Did it happen often with your group? Is it just this group, or?
I wouldn't say it happened often. It definitely happened. There were definitely instances of
this. Do you feel like it happens more so far this year than when you maybe were there? And I'm not asking the question to compare this group to your group. I'm asking it just because you were going to remember more times than I would.
Is this a uncharacteristically
yes
lot amount of these? I would say if you want to consider yourself a good offensive line, it's too many. It is too many times that there's a whiff. It's too many times John Campbell got beat inside versus Florida. Well, too many times, you know, Ollie might get swimmed. Like it's like maybe won a game that you kind of like, crap, I messed up on that one. Like, all right. But it can't just keep happening, and it can't happen like game over game. Like, I would say, you know, I didn't whiff on guys, but like probably my downfall was jumping off sides. You know, that was my mistake more than like completely whiffing on dudes. But like I definitely whiffed on dudes in my junior year. Like, well, Dante Fowler got my ass a couple times.
Well, let me say this. I think you answer it by saying if you want to consider yourself a good offensive line, I think this offensive line is pretty average, maybe slightly above average, but they're not – I wouldn't say they're good right now.
Yeah. I mean, like you said at the beginning of the season, like replacing Jerome and Darnell is a big task.
So pretty quick, the rest that I have on offense, and then you can jump in where you want. The only other one that I really wanted to talk about offensively is – the one that looked like it was going to be a pick six.
Yeah.
I don't at first glance, it looks bad. I am going to give Joe a little credit in my opinion, because it wasn't the individual, the nickel corner or the safety that was down in the box that jumped it. And it was like, he threw it right to him. When they brought the guy in motion, the guy that was falling because he was in man coverage coming across was there. And so when Joe takes it and looks here, he might have. It's like looking in your blind spot in the car. It's like he looks and he doesn't see this guy trailing. No, I'm not making an excuse for him. I mean, if you throw that and it gets picked in a big game, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that I don't want people to think that it was as erroneous of like, what the fuck are you looking at? You know, some horrendous Jared Garantano pick against BYU where he's just like, and throwing it right to the dude, and it's like, how do you not him? But anyways, other than that,
my only thing about that play is that guy. The whole reason for the motion is to see, once we motion out there, how many numbers do they have versus our numbers? Would they have 3 versus our 4? That looks great. Do they have 4 versus our 4? Probably need to run the ball. It was a play action pass. So the one guy that you're supposed to be looking at as a quarterback to make that determination is the one guy who follows Squirrel out there. Now, I'll say that guy was hesitant to follow Squirrel out there. He kind of waited, like, okay, and then went. So I can see how that'd be difficult. But like in my understanding of an offense, in my understanding of how that would work and what you're reading off of, like Josh Dobbs would have been told, you're looking at this linebacker to see what he is doing. If he runs out there, hand it off. If he stays, throw it. And it's like, that's the specific guy he's reading on that play. So I don't want to give him too much of a pass. I understand it's a difficult play. And maybe I am holding him to too high of a standard if I'm expecting him to read that exactly how he should.
No, I think that's a good. I'm glad you brought that up. No, I think that's a good point. I think it's a good point
because that guy, the reason why you motion is he is what you're reading. You're not reading the deep safety. You're not reading the corner on the other side. You're not reading any of the D linemen. You're reading the linebacker. Does he shift over and make the numbers bad on the outside, or does he stay and make the numbers bad on the inside?
Well, yes, but then there's other times you shift to see if someone's following, it's usually meaning man, and if they're shift over, it's zone. But there are times where I guess it could have been zone, and maybe he could follow because they were just outnumbered wise. But it would be pretty doubtful that they would do it in zone. But anyways, no, I'm glad you brought that up. I don't really have anything else defensively. I mean, offensively, we've talked about it. The game was kind of in hand. You would like to have seen us put on a couple more, connect on the Chaz Nimrod deep ball, connect on the Squirrel deep ball. Like you said, I guess it was nice that he had all of his pars early to put this match play to rest. But when we're going up against better competition, specifically SEC play and coming up in 4, 5, 6 days against South Carolina, maybe one miss, Kyler, I think is all we're going to be allowed. And I'm saying a miss, like a big miss, like a third down miss or someone who's wide open, guaranteed touchdown. Heupel is once again getting individuals free running to the end zone.
I think I will say that I think the Nimrod one, I don't know if that's an over. Like I kind of feel like
sure
Chase had a chance at that,
I agree with you because I watched it a couple of times. Like maybe he could have got there. Let's just say this: we didn't complete it. Whoever's fault.
And two things before we go to defense. One, the Dylan Sampson shovel pass. Loved it. The little underneath shovel to Dylan, let him go. It's like kind of a draw almost. Right. I thought that was a really cool wrinkle, and I think it's a great play for Dylan and his skill set. And then two, Joe, don't hold your fours up versus UTSA while it's 31-14. Like, what are we doing here, man? Seriously, like put your fours down. You're not behind. You're not fighting back. This is UTSA. Like that just kind of, I was just like, all right, man.
A little cringy.
Yeah, very, very cringy. Like I don't want to see that cringe from my leader.
He does, and someone else might argue that they were happy to do it, saying, hey, we need to finish strong. Let's not get lackadaisical. So to play the other side of it. But there's a lot of cringe-worthy stuff that he does. I was watching him run out of I just was watching the guys run out of the tee, and he was first, and he's doing his airplane thing out there, and then he's doing his this and this, and it's a little much for me. I do think it's a little cringe-worthy, and I think that's him authentically. I don't think he's trying to do those things for whatever reason. But cringe is definitely the best way to put it. Defense. And I did not take a lot of plays here because I knew that we were going to try to keep it a little bit. I wanted to get out of just commenting on every play here, there, and that. I wanted to make sure that they were some good specific ones. I thought Gabe had really nice coverage on the second down. Even though it was completion, he was there. He made the tackle. And it's a wide side. He's pressed up. He's on an island. The guy tried to set him up outside. He still stayed inside, and it was fantastic coverage. He actually had another one a little bit later. Really nice block, take on, and tackle by Tamarian. And then the very next play, he does it really, really nice again, and he has Elijah, Dominic Bailey there with him. So, once again, UTSA, I've bet a lot on UTSA over the past couple of years. I haven't really watched them this year, but I was not surprised to see this. the motion, the quick stuff. They were going to do, whether they did that normally, I knew we were going to see it one way or the other because of what Florida did to us.
Exactly.
South Carolina is going to do the exact same thing. Just a team is going to be really dumb, Kyler, if they just try to pound it right at us.
And this defense better get used to more cut blocks from offensive linemen, more screens, and more draws.
Yeah,
because that's what they're going to do. Try and slow down that defensive line. And
yes.
That's exactly why UTSA had a little bit of success that they did. They're running screens at the right time. They had tunnel, running back, wide receiver. Like they were trying to get the over pursue and get up back behind everybody. So
right.
you better be aware, because people are going to keep doing that to you. They see the strength of your defense is your defensive line and the rush that you can put on there. So
yep. I agree. No, I agree. We will see it every game the remainder of the year. Hell, even UConn's going to try to do it. So,
oh yeah.
Let's see. Defensively, they tried the fake screen and go, which I've already mentioned, but it was nice pressure by our D line, so he couldn't really step up. It was an awesome slip, and that's what I used to call it. When you would see you're playing DB, and you're it's almost like a little bait job. It's where you see him, and for this one specifically, Tamarian kind of let him run by him. He's got eyes on the quarterback. You might get a little grab around that hip to pull yourself around, and then make the diving pick to where you become the receiver. That was played very, very nicely. Very veteran move. Does that happen? It's a better team and a better receiver or faster receiver or better quarterback. I don't know. Like I said, there was some good pressure, so he couldn't really step up and maybe try to loft it, but it was a very, very headsy and veteran play, hip pocket. And then it wasn't just a PBU, it was a nice pick.
Yeah, that was definitely something I would do. Like, if I'm on backside of an outside zone and I can't get across that guy's face, just like a little hip hook and let him momentum take him. And I thought it was very heads up play.
It was very much Ricky Bobby slingshot.
Shake and bake, baby.
Yeah, a little slingshot. So then I thought it was fantastic, and I love to see it by Tyler Barron staying at home. You want one of your best players being a veteran when they're trying to quarterback pass. He doesn't. You want effort, and we have great effort. I feel like running down the line of scrimmage with our linemen. But he sat there, he read it, he took that play away. I loved it. And then I've already mentioned I would have been fine if the refs had not called a pick play, but you already made a good point. They did throw the flag, and he did slightly extend his hands. I personally would love, as a DB, and we were allowed to do it, switch off. So many people run these pick plays and say, if I'm the nickel corner, I'm the safety up, or I'm the nickel corner, and I got my guy outside, and say, hey, we're swapping, or whatever you call it. Every team has a terminology for it. But hey, if he comes outside, you take. And if my outside guy comes in, I'll take, and you have time to do that, especially on those pick plays. And if you're sitting there with a good alignment, then your alignment itself can really take that play out. Where the only thing you ever have to worry about is, hey, if we switch, if inside guy stems out and then comes back in under a slant and they do a double slant, then you might be out of position. But most of the time, if something's going to cross, let them play right. It's like having a net and letting the fish swim right into the net. Instead of throwing something out there, just sit and wait on it. So, I would like to maybe see that at some point. And that was it. That was it for me defensively, because everything else was pretty much status quo until we got a little lackadaisical. We gave up some stuff. That happens. It's kind of like almost the Florida game last year where we're up. And Tim Banks wanted to keep everything in front of us. Obviously, we were playing a lot of zone then against AR to not let him run. But you do get a little, we're going to win this game. If they want to get, that's fine. We just, so.
Going through mine, just like shout outs. There was like a running backs, or there was like an inside screen that tied in. I thought Elijah Herring did a really good job. He was supposed to be man on the running back and kind of this doesn't make sense. I'm going to stay back, and he made the tackle on a screen. I thought Brandon Turnage did a good job of finding the ball on one of those ones that were down the sideline. let's see. I mean, I'll shout out Arian Carter and like his catch up to the one shot that was towards the end zone.
But
He ended up,
yes,
yeah, he ended up being there. I thought that was a good job by him to catch up to that guy. Let's see. Tamarians.
I thought Bryson Easton played a really nice game for an inside. He had a nice bounce back week.
I thought so too.
I did think that there were still some missed tackles I wasn't super pumped about. And
yeah, I think Easton is the second D lineman that we talked about. Like we already knew Amari, but we didn't know who the second guy is. Like he's the one who's kind of stepped up.
Yeah, especially Omar Norman Lott has absolutely stepped up, but he was out.
Oh yeah,
he was out the first half of this game. So
yeah, he leaves his feet a lot. He does not care. He's freaking hilarious.
Damn freaking bull in a china shop.
Aaron Beasley meeting the running back in the hole. You could even hear it on the broadcast. That was great. Just a good pop. Just stop all of momentum. Yeah, Tyler Barron on the double pass. Let's see. God, the Brandon Turnage just missing on the little slant. The guy turns around like he misses the tackle on him, and then the guy just outruns Turrentine to the end zone, which is not fun to see. Just getting smoked.
Yeah,
like, you're slow. Like that's what that just told you.
Bad tackle, and you looked Mr. 4-star from Ohio State. I was like, yikes, that was not looking great.
No, it was not. Let's see. I love Tyree West had a tackle where he literally just lifted the running back off the ground. He's like, I'm tired. Like, I'm tired of you, like everyone driving the pile. He just went and lifted him up. I thought that was great. I thought when Thielander got in the game that he did a good job. I thought he played with his hair on fire. Like he was going out there hitting people. He was meeting guards. Because I was watching him because I'm still very hesitant about that linebacker position. So I was like, all right, let me see what he does versus Arian. They're both freshmen. And I thought he played with more gumption, more effort, more getting after it than Arian. Arian still feels like he's thinking too much. And then special teams wise, we had the just shouting out Dylan Sampson and Webb for making the tackle on their fake punt. Both of them offensive players making big time tackles. Caleb Webb literally shed a block and wrapped dude up, and then Dylan hit him before he could reach across the first down.
That guy was
massive play to give us the ball back. And then Cam Selden, freshman mistake, trying to jump on that blocked punt. It didn't hurt us in the long run, but like those are kind of things as like a coach. Everyone in the stadium knew you're not supposed to touch that. Everyone at home watching knew you're not supposed to touch that. But he's an 18-year-old freshman. And he's like, do I jump on the ball? Like, it's just sometimes you just don't think in those scenarios when you're a young guy and you don't have that experience. So, like,
actually,
great coaching point.
I actually don't think it's that he's not thinking. I thought he was thinking too much because he's like, oh, gosh, do we have to get on it? Because you could see him. He kind of like goes and it's like, hey, it's like, hey, kid, I love the effort, but you just scored on the other team's basket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love your rebound, your putback, but it's the wrong basket. All right.
I'll be quick on what's ahead for me, Kyler. This changes. It stinks, but 1 month later from when I thought we were going to go 10-2, Heupel's still dialing it up, and I just going into this season, I knew we lost players. I was more worried about the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was more worried about the offensive line than maybe losing the receivers. Excuse me. I was most worried about losing Hendon, but I did have faith after I saw Joe in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
Have faith in Heupel being able just to basically hand him things on a silver platter, but we've seen that he can still screw it up if it's on a silver platter. But going into this year, I thought the offensive line would be better. I was worried about them, and I didn't think they'd be as good as last year, but I thought they'd be a little bit better than they are now. Moving forward, Kyler, shoot, man. I'm seeing like 7 wins, 8 wins, I guess. I have lost my confidence, and I need them to give that back to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know what you think about looking ahead.
The thing about what's ahead is estimated the 10-2 before the season. The games in which I thought those are going to be really difficult, and I have no idea if we're going to win, I feel better about. But the games I thought we're definitely going to win, I feel worse about.
But that's because of the other team.
Yeah, because of the other teams. Like, I feel better about the Georgia game because of what I've seen from Georgia, because of what they did this past week and then the week before that versus South Carolina. I feel worse about the South Carolina game because they just put up 37 versus Mississippi State, because they were in a game with Georgia in the end. I feel better about the Alabama game because 17 points versus UCF, and they block a punt and it can only get a field goal out of it when they start on the 4-yard line. Like, that makes me feel better about playing Bama, but like, I feel worse about playing Kentucky because they just beat the shit out of Vandy. I mean, that's not saying a lot, but like, they're doing pretty well, undefeated. Missouri, undefeated. Like, it's like those games where you kind of think, Tennessee will be Tennessee and hold them to whatever we need to. It's like those teams are actually doing pretty well this year. So the view on the SEC has changed in my eyes. Of there's one top dog or 2 top dogs and everybody else is kind of middle of the pack or worse. It's like everyone's fighting for the top position right now. Like, I could see Georgia slipping up to any of the other SEC East teams now. Like, that's what it seems like to me. The fact that you're having a close game with South Carolina means that you could have a close game with Missouri like you did last year and say one dude makes a mistake and Missouri wins. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I think
3 years ago or 4 years ago, when Kirby Smart still had a very good team ranked in the top 5, they lost to South Carolina at home. South Carolina had 3 picks. 2 of them were pick sixes, and they lost to them on a field goal. I remember it. And it was like, that was maybe one of the only losses of Georgia's season, but it's like, that can happen. That it doesn't look like the same team. It's not the Stetson Bennett led offense anymore. So that's where it's like it feels like there's more parity in the SEC right now than there has been in previous years.
I don't know if I would agree with that there's more parity. I would agree with they're just not as good of teams. Because, I mean, last year, the last 2 years there wasn't a ton of parity because Georgia was just really good and Bama was still pretty darn good. But I just don't think it's still too early to tell for me about Georgia. I don't know. They haven't been super impressive in the little bit that I've watched them, but I just don't think the SEC is as good as we have been, and that's fine. I mean, if you got a run of 20 years, it's got to end at some point.
That's true.
So I don't know. I'm just worried about Tennessee. This is a big week. This is a huge week for Tennessee. If they lose this game, the season gets a little dicey. So.
It's big on a lot of different ways. It's getting your first SEC win. It's getting the East side win. It's redemption from last year. It's the game before the bye. Yeah. How are you going into your break?
It is brutal if you lose going into a bye.
Brutal, because no one knows what everything is going to look like. We as fans have to wait an extra week to see the team again because we're just like, what's going to happen? And if you lose going into a bye, nobody's spot is safe. Nobody. That is perfect time to, hey, go ahead and get some 1 reps. Go ahead and get in with the ones. Let's see what you can do out there.
It is a vibe and mojo killer. So the crowd is going to be rocking. You better handle business.
And seeing Shane Beamer's dumb face, if we were to lose, would piss me off.
Oh,
God. He's the worst. All right, buddy. See ya. Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you are watching, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment. If you are just listening, rate and review, download, re-download, follow us on all those listening platforms. It really helps. Also follow us on social media at Pancakes and Bacon on Twitter for our main account, at Pancakes and Bacon _RTI on Instagram. You can follow Reed at rbacon26 on Twitter, and then you can follow myself on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Kyler Kerbyson. So just check me out there. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for all your support. And let's turn this thing around. As always, go Vols.